What's going on, everyone? It's Cole and I'm back for another video just for you. So this is the first video in my brand new YouTube series called Transparent. So Transparent is a YouTube series where I'm going to be as transparent as possible about as many of the obstacles that trans people like myself experience whilst transitioning. So drop a comment below if there's anything at all that you'd like to see me cover within this web series. So before I start, just want to say, please know that within this web series, and especially this video in itself, please don't think that I'm trying to influence or give instructions on how to be trans. But if you do identify as transgender, or you think that you do, then I'm just hoping that these videos can give you a little bit of the help or the guidance that you may have been looking for. Also, these are from my personal experience, so some of these videos just may not resonate with you, and that's absolutely fine if they don't. You know, there's so many types of trans people, there's so many different shapes, sizes, colours, all sorts of different trans people, so that diversity and that difference within the trans community should be celebrated. So today's episode is for those of you who may be questioning your gender identity and you may not know what to do with it. You know, you may not know what to do with those feelings, and because I've been in probably a very similar position to yourself, hopefully, as I say, I can give you a bit of advice on it. So before we start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a glimpse of the person that I was back when I was in a very similar position to potentially yourself. That was back in 2015. Now I'm not going to lie, I did actually have to re-record this video due to technical issues, of course. So I'm going to show you some footage which was from the last video of me reading a letter to myself. Now in short, that letter was something that my counsellor told me to write. So she told me to basically, you know, write out how I was feeling at that exact time, just exactly how I was feeling, and write it all down and just get it all out, and I haven't read it since. So this is pretty intimate to me, and I don't know, I want to share it with you guys because hopefully some of what I read you guys can relate to in whatever position that you're in right now. And so if you do, just let me know in the comments. I want to see how you guys are feeling and getting on. So yeah, I'm a little bit nervous, but let's begin. What's on my mind? So I'm worried that I'll regret it. I know that I'm not comfortable with my chest, etc., and I feel that life would be better if I was born male, but I don't know why I feel it would be better. I guess just because I'd be completely happy with my body, then it'd be easier to date. I wouldn't be a minority, less potential judgment in life. I'd be happier with more friends as I'd be more sure of myself and less socially awkward. I just feel pretty much every aspect of my life would be better. But then I wonder if, once I've transitioned, face and voice changed, etc., I'll miss my old self. Like, if I'd miss how my voice sounded, or how hairless or smooth my skin was. But through my life, I've never particularly thought much of any of that. And when my voice was deep from being ill, I loved the sound. Since I was tiny, I've always gendered things as male. Any toys or teddies, first car, pets, future children, always male. As if that's the sex to be. And if you're female, you're just a silly little girl, not taken seriously, always second best. Not other women, just anything female to do with me. I'd always play the male role in Let's Pretend, asked for boys' underwear, had a strange curiosity about boys and men's minds and bodies, always envied good-looking guys and wanting to be them. Then, later upon discovering them, trans guys, I developed an almost obsession with following their journeys, how everything works and how it was done, feeling such strong awe, aspiring to be like them, but being too scared to allow myself to think about it, as no one was allowed to know my little secret, the one I couldn't even admit to myself, let alone accept it. And now that I have, these feelings of worry about regrets and imagining my hairy legs and deep voice and bearded chin and flat chest, it's everything I ever wanted, and excitement used to rise in me at the thought of that. And now there's a new feeling of, but that's not nice or great, what if you prefer how you used to look, and I don't get where it's come from, as it really is what I've craved for so long. Wow. Wow. I mean, where do I start? I'm not gonna, continue on for ages because, the length of this video and all. But that's mad, yeah. I forgot about all of the sort of doubt and the questioning that I experienced. And if you question that and if you feel similar, that's absolutely fine and that's normal, because it's such a significant thing in your life and it's such a significant decision, you know, to medically transition. It's good to have doubt, and if anything, if you don't have any doubts, just look again and just be aware of all of the implications and be aware of how you really will be or really will feel, you know, at the stage that you want to be, because yeah, it's such a massive decision to medically transition. It's not something to be taken lightly. So if you guys want me to talk more about that, because there's so much more I could say, and I know that I could say, but I could go on for hours about that. Now, if I could speak to myself back then, I've created 8 kind of points, I guess, of just kind of things that would have helped me to find myself and get that guidance a lot quicker, and just sort of get to know and understand myself, yeah, just faster and much more easily. So first of all, there's a big difference between who you are and who you think you are. Now, if that doesn't make sense, just let me explain. So say you're there feeling unhappy, you know, you're lost, you're confused, and you log onto YouTube and you see all of these trans guys, and you know, they were exactly the same as you, really unhappy, really lost, really confused back before their transition. But you look at them now and they're confident, you know, they're glowing, they're happy, there's, you know, and to you, you're just thinking, wow, you know, they just look where I want to be. Now, it's then very, very easy to start to kid yourself into thinking, well, I'm unhappy and they were unhappy, same as me, so that means that I must be trans. So you're basically trying to find an escape from your happiness without actually looking at the source. Now, of course, that source itself, it could very well be gender dysphoria, but then it could also very easily be undiagnosed depression or just general shit getting you down in life. So what I'm trying to say is, make sure that you look at who you really are and how you really see yourself, rather than just sort of assuming and letting yourself just think, actually I must be trans, and just finding that easy way out, because it may not be the answer, and it's very, very important to distinguish the difference between the two. Just want to shout out as well to my boys for helping me to sort of word that explanation, because it took me so long to try and find a way to explain that to you guys. So Caden and Saint, go and follow them. Their links to their social media is in the description below as well, alright? So next point, go to therapy or counselling. Not because there's anything wrong, not to fix anything, but just purely to help with your mental clarity, because you'd be surprised as to how much talking things out and just getting it out and having someone just listen will help you then reflect back on your thoughts and back on your feelings and understand yourself more. Next, if you can, try to sort of imagine yourself sounding and looking how you want to, and just, you know, really just sort of picture that in your head and explore how it makes you feel, you know. And if you are going to counselling, then explore that with your counsellor. Also, try to find an LGBT plus support group. Now, it's just really good to be surrounded by people that are like-minded and that are likely just as accepting as you are. But do be careful, because if you're anything like myself, it is very easy to mirror your surroundings. Now, of course, that is good to an extent, but don't let it make life-changing decisions for you. Next up, don't rush anything. Really just take time to explore your options and just really self-reflect, you know. If you really do feel like you're trans, when it comes to a transition, you know, how would you want it to look? Would you want it to be medical, you know, natural, or none at all? Just really look into and explore that. Whilst we're here as well, did you want a video on kind of, you know, the types of transition that you can go through within this web series? Another thing that's very important is, if you're beginning to sort of experience progress with who you really are, and you do feel that you do identify as trans, and you do feel that you would like to transition, however that may be, make sure that you slow yourself down. Now, I understand that it's very easy to be caught up in the, you know, the excitement and the relief of finally thinking, God, you know, I know who I am and I know what I want and where I want to be and all the rest of it. But your subconscious needs time to catch up. You know, there's so much that your subconscious is still processing and trying to understand the implications, you know, the good, the bad. There's so much to absorb within this. Try not to get ahead of yourself, because it can be very easy for you to do that, and then your subconscious suddenly hits you, and then you're thinking, wow, you know, I just, this is too much, this is very overwhelming, because it is a life-changing decision and you really need to treat it that way. You know, it's not something to be taken lightly. But in the meantime, you know, just explore with names and pronouns in safe spaces, of course. And you could even just sort of, what I used to do, I went to a coffee shop and they'd ask for my name, and I'd give the name that I've been thinking about rather than obviously my previous name. And it just kind of gives you a bit of a taster as to what it feels like to be socially male, or however else you identify. And my final point today, I'm going to be straight up about it, because it's not all an easy ride and it's not all amazing and joyous and whatnot. There is hard times. If you are certain that you are trans, especially in the early days, there is potential that your dysphoria will hit you harder than it did before. Now, the only reason I warn you of this is because it did happen to me and a few of my other friends. But, you know, it may not happen to you, so don't take my word for it and think, oh shit, you know, I'm going to be hit with this dysphoria. It may not happen to you, but I just want to forewarn you, as it did happen to myself and, as I say, a few others. I think the reason for it is mainly just because you're so much more outwardly and consciously aware of how much your external appearance doesn't match, you know, what you feel in your head. But don't panic, because it does calm down, it does ease off, and, you know, you as you sort of get used to all the changes, whether that be socially or eventually medically, transitioning and whatnot, it does ease off, so don't panic at all. But having said that, I know that this does sound cliche, but if I did have to go back and do it all over again, you know, as hard as it was, as many ups and downs as there were, I would genuinely do it all over again, just because this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. And so to have to go through all of that to get back to how I am, 100%, I do it 3 times if I had to, just because it's just so worth it. So it just really does get better. Just have faith in yourself, and, you know, just know that there's people like myself and other people within the community that are around, that you can message if you need to for any support or any advice as well. So that's pretty much all there is to it today, but as I say, I hope that even just a little bit of this helped you out today. Now, as always, drop a comment below, you know, if you have any questions or queries, or if you prefer to message me privately. Of course, my DM on Instagram is always open, so feel free to message me direct if you prefer to. Also, make sure you stay tuned for the next video within this web series, which is how to soothe dysphoria, especially that dysphoria within the early days. So as I say, thanks for watching, take care of yourself, and I hope you have a good day, alright? Peace.